What's good, YouTube, and welcome to the house. I am super excited to get into this React Andy, and if you're wondering how I get on these so fast sometimes, I have Jeff Jones in my newsfeed, and I saw him post, like, on something else. The SYNCHRO seems so insane, heart eyes emoji, something along those lines. So I'm pretty excited to see the new SYNCHRO card. I understand we have SWORDSOUL, Branded, and Ice Jades. I reread all the Ice Jades before this, and I remember criticizing them for being too fair. You do have to throttle cards that would work with Atlanteans like crazy, so we'll see what the new support brings, because 5 new Ice Jade monsters, or cards, or whatever this is going to be more support than they previously had. SWORDSOUL is super exciting moving forward, and then a branded spell. I love me some Dogmatica lore, and Albaz is getting a structure deck, hopefully for the TCG too. So let's go ahead and get into this, starting with Croy, is it like LaCroix? Croy, the Ice Jade Imperatrix, level 10 water aqua effect monster, attack 1500, defense 3000. You can only special summon this card's name by the way of its first effect once per turn. If there is a face-up card in the field zone, you can special summon this card from your hand. That's weird that it just doesn't say field spell, but okay, so with this, I remember they did a Spriggans or Golgonda, something like that, that has a similar summoning condition, so it seems like Konami's playing around with this more. Monsters your opponent controls cannot activate their effects on the field while Enion Cradle the Ice Jade Depths is on the field except the turn they were summoned. Welcome to being a Yu-Gi-Tuber and reading things for the first time. So that's a new card, I would think, so we'll see that later on. But restricting monsters except the turn they're summoned. So you allow enablers, you now allow initial effects and board busting and all that, but you actually, in this combo, if this is on the field, all of a sudden you have a continuous effect stopping negations, and this isn't a colon, but isn't an activated effect. I'll have to read into it more later, but this is super interesting. So this can summon and then shut off everything that could be a reactive. That's kind of wild, because they wouldn't be summoned that turn, like Boral Savage, Apollosa, etc. If your Ice Jade monster battles an opponent's monster, that opponent's monster loses 1,000 attack during damage calculation only. That's battles, period. That's not just attacks. That's kind of cool. This is what you're looking for more than cards. So essentially, this is 2,500 and turns any of your Ice Jades into bigger monsters. Despite the huge defense, it actually ends up getting a bigger attack because the opponents will lose 1,000. And also just shutting off all effects. Monsters, let me make sure I read this right. Monsters your opponent controls cannot activate their effects on the field while that's on the field except the turn they're summoned. That is so freaking cool. This is the kind of deck building I love to see. Like, the Konami play around with stuff like this more, although floodgating isn't exactly the coolest thing, but it allows enablers back. It is a balance of floodgating. Agile the Ice Jade is a level 3 water aqua effect monster, and she looks pretty cool. Attack 1,000, defense 2,000. You can only use the first and second effect of this card name once per turn. If this card is normal or special summon, you add an Ice Jade Speller Trap from your deck to your hand. So a Speller Trap Searcher, along with a Rhoda that can grab her. When your opponent activates a card or effect that targets this card, or when an opponent's monster declares an attack on this card, quick effect, you can special summon 1 water monster from your hand or graveyard except Agile of the Ice Jade, but return it to the hand during the end phase. Also, the next time this card would be destroyed by battle or card effect, it is not destroyed. So it would have to be attacked 3 times. Obviously, that's one of those effects your opponent would have to fall into. You'll have to do something else than targeting specifically, though, or battling, which leads to non-target destruction like Access Code Talker, which we didn't get a reprint of. Still an interesting protection effect on top of a Searcher. Not bad at all. The second effect is a bonus, if anything. Kingfisher the Ice Jade Ship is a level 10 water aqua effect monster, 2,500, 2,500. So if the other boss is out, it's basically 35. You can only use the third effect of this card's name once per turn. You can target a water monster you control, equip this card from your hand or field to the target. Almost a Union monster from hand. An Ice Jade that monster equipped with this card can attack while in face-up defense. Yo, bringing back the mechanics. If it does apply its defense for damage calc, oh, that's so cool. You can target one face-up monster your opponent controls with attack equal to or less than the equipped monster's defense. Special summon this card, and if you do, return the target to hand. This is all pretty awesome. So you can equip and target any face-up monster your opponent controls and just summon it and bounce as well. It is targeting bouncing, but that is still pretty darn cracked. And you can target any water monster you control to do this. This is completely generic almost, except for the what is that? The battle shogun thing? The attack from defense effect? Like, yo, this is kind of nice. Kingfisher's nice. All right, here we do have the field spell mentioned earlier. Neon Cradle the Ice Jade Depths field spell. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. When this card resolves, you can add one of your Ice Jade monsters that is banished or in your graveyard to your hand. So a recycle resource. Again, extremely fair, but now we're getting into unfair card slash floodgate slash interesting card creation along with it. Once per turn, if a monster is normal summoned or special summoned or monsters, you can target one water monster you control. That target and all face-up monsters your opponent control currently lose attack equal to that target's original attack till the end of the turn. So at any point during the opponent's combo, you can kind of zap things. Interesting. Or it's if you're doing it. Once per turn, if a monster is normal or special, you target one. So you could really just shut off an Apollosa or a card like that. This is pretty awesome. And now we have a trap as well. Ice Jade Erosion Continuous Trap. Remember, this is searchable by the other searcher. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name once per turn. You can target one face-up card your opponent controls, destroy an Ice Jade monster you control, and if you do, negate the target's effects till the end of the turn. So far, extremely fair once again. If a face-up water monsters you control leaves the field by your opponent, that's not even fair, actually. Let me rephrase that. We have cards like Breakthrough Skill where you don't have to give something up to do that. That's really just weird. If a face-up water monster you control leaves the field by your opponent, not yourself, not by this, except by being destroyed, you can take an Ice Shade monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it. Now that effect is way better. I guess that makes this a bonus on top of this, so you could get a resource and then use it. Okay, that's a little bit better, but it still has to leave by the opponent overall, so you're relying on the opponent for this card, but it makes it a little less fair. The first effect was seeming a bit too imbalanced, actually, but overall I really like this new support and the deck is looking a lot better. Meta contender, maybe actually that shutdown is pretty cool and I'd love to see what people find then mix with Atlanteans. Don't know that it's replacing Mermails, but let me know. That new generic support seems good too. Alright, I'm ready to read this. We have a name I'm gonna murder, so I'm gonna say Long Yon the Soul Sword Catastrophe. Level 10 Fire Worm Synchro Effect Monster, attack 2900, defense 2300. You need a tuner and 1+ non-tuner worm monsters. You can only use the first and second and third effect of this card's name once per turn. All hard OPTs, okay. If you synchro summon another worm synchro monster, you get to draw a card. So Yazi, you know, good cards, Baxia. If your opponent special summons a monster or monsters, you can banish one of them, and if you do, inflict 1200 damage to your opponent. Yo, a actual, like, ability to just take out any special summon monster when it's summoned. That's kind of nice. When your opponent activates a spell / trap card or quick effect, you can banish that card, and if you do, inflict 1200 damage. Wow, that's huge against continuouses and field spells. Tinky. This card is nice. Jeff was not wrong. It's a famous sword in Chinese folklore and legend. Wow, this dude is really pretty darn good. So each thing's a hard OPT, but you literally get a counter to a special summon and any spell / trap activation, and you get to inflict damage on both of these, which is pretty big considering other cards like Gravedigger Trap Hole could be in the game teched with in a deck like this. We also have SWORDSOUL Sati. I almost read that as Salt. Continuous trap card. You can only use the first and second effect of this card name once per turn. If a card or cards becomes banished, you can banish a Worm Synchro monster or SWORDSOUL card from your hand, deck, graveyard, or either field. Nice. If this card becomes banished, you can special summon a SWORDSOUL token. You cannot special monsters from the extra deck except for synchros while you control it. So a little double advantage. It's okay. I'd have to look overall how the interaction's going to go between the deck. The synchro definitely has me way more excited right now. And now, what I've been waiting for, Branded Servants, continuous spell card. You can only use the first and second effects of this card name once per turn. While you control a level 8 or higher Fiend Fusion monster, you can negate any effect of a monster with currently 0 attack and or defense activated by your opponent. Specifically 0, I guess that's working in the archetype with stuff. At the end of a damage step, if 2 monsters with 0 attack battle, destroy that opponent's battling monster. That's kind of a little meme-ish. I don't know. I'd have to reread everything. I'm a little, at first, disappointed. Maybe there's a specific interaction, so we get some extra lore in the picture. You have a Luber facing off with Ecclesia, new bonk stick version in the fusion, so a Luber coming in hot. Okay, so I like the picture more than the card, maybe, but the new Synchro is noteworthy, and all the Ice Shades are super noteworthy. These are freaking good. Thanks for watching the reveals and me stumbling through them. You're here so that you don't have to read, right? Yu-Gi-Oh players and reading, it's hard for me too, but I really do like where Ice Shade is headed. I think Ice Shade got a way better, but the SWORDSOUL Synchro is stealing the show on these reveals, and definitely a card to chase after within the set, and give SWORDSOUL players something to look forward to. Please subscribe if you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed this conversation, and let me know what you think of everything, and are you now more perceptive to picking up Ice Jades, or you still staying away? Kingfisher definitely also seems like a freaking awesome card to me.